What's going on, good people? Good to see everybody. Welcome to week 4 of the Texas League podcast. We are happy to be back for this week. I am one of your hosts, Dwayne Devastator Morrow, with my co-host, Jared. I just took my first L of the season, Calvin, who is also our league commissioner. Missing our third co-host this week, who is currently negotiating a plea deal to get out of coaching his son's football team and his playing for his baseball team next week. So shout out to our boy Dr. Deuce, who is a very busy and engaged dad. So not that we aren't, but he's just busy right now. So hopefully we'll have him back next week. But that also means I'll get to talk all of the smack about our upcoming match this week against each other, as well as the match between our two favorite teams that we both cheer for. So there's going to be a whole bunch of subliminal and not so subliminal shots taken at the the Los Angeles Stepchildren Chargers, facing off against my Las Vegas Raiders this weekend. But what's going on, Jared?
I was just wondering how long it was going to take for a Chargers comment to be made, and I think it took all of less than 90 seconds.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean,
I know it wouldn't take long, but
there ain't really much to mention. Like their trophy case does not exist. So, hey, all those mythical trophies that they could have, should have won, according to Rex Ryan, had he been their coach. But he also was the one that had those mythical trophies when he was coaching the Jets. So we'll take that for whatever it is as well. So, time for this week's kickoff question. I'm going to share a quick video here.
So the email is from David. This trade was completed after week 1. One team gives up Breece Hall, Devontae Smith, and Jonathan Mingo, gets back Jahmyr Gibbs, Gabe Davis, and Tank Bigsby. When I saw it, I said to myself, I'd rather be the team who receives Smith and Hall, but I had no issues with it that being that uneven. Week 2 happens, and Devontae Smith once again went off. The league manager is taking a vote to see if the trade should be vetoed a week later. He says the results are split, so he's going to veto the trade even after the games have been played. 2 teams threaten to quit if the trade stands.
What?
Trade vetoed after games have been played. What are your thoughts?
This is an absolute nightmare.
So wait. The commissioner's involved in this?
The commissioner's going to overturn the trade. Oh, he's not one of the teams trading. No.
Okay, I was going to say, because the way you made it
Two teams
sound
are
like...
crybaby threatening to quit the league.
I don't think he's one of the teams trading. We don't have that information.
The 2 people threatening to leave the league if the trade stands. Bye. See ya.
Yeah. Never come back and never play fantasy football with me ever again.
God. Like, what are you doing?
That's embarrassing. Those people should be more embarrassed than the commissioner, who should also be embarrassed for considering to veto a trade a week after the trade was made through. This is insane.
What is the next step? You evaluate it in 5 weeks and say, hey, like totally.
You know what? Actually, it was fair. We're going to do the trade over. We'll give the players back retroactive stats. We'll change the lineups for each week. Like, this is crazy.
All right, so the email is from Dave.
All right, Jared. So what's the question of the week?
Simply put, is that not the dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life? Talking about vetoing a trade after a week? I trade every year, and I was hoping that the third member would be here because we trade every year. I think that is the dumbest thing I have heard in my entire time playing fantasy. So somebody made a trade, y'all approved it. Then because the trade looks lopsided or because the players are blowing up, you want to go back and veto it? And the fact that your league is even contemplating, hey, maybe we should vote on this. No, ain't no voting on this. I think that whole league right there just needs to be disbanded, just all of them. Because if you think that's okay, all of your fantasy knowledge is null and void, and you all just need to just give up fantasy. The commissioner needs to never commission another league, because if you thought it was okay to even consider this, you need to turn in your commissionership. Just the whole thing is stupid. That's the only thing I can say.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Even if I'm not a team involved, I would not comment until after the final decision was made. But if the trade was reversed, I would immediately quit that league. Wouldn't even demand my money back. I would just demand that the commissioner lose my phone number in terms of fantasy football, because you are truly one of God's very special people. And I can't be involved in anything that can't be involved with anything that you're doing from a fantasy football standpoint. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, even David Stern, rest in peace, would think that that is a ridiculous decision to make. Like, it's one thing for your league to have, and I don't even like leagues where the players have the ability to veto trades, right? Like, I understand, I get, like, if a commissioner can veto it, if they think it's too lopsided. If the commissioner didn't think that the trade was vetoable, honestly, it wasn't. The week before that trade was fine. Injuries and performances a week after the trade, sometimes that's the gamble you make, right? Like, if you got a player that's been sitting on your bench that's been underperforming that you trade away, that's the risk you take. I mean, look at what happened with the Brooklyn Nets and the 76ers with James Harden. James Harden showed up 30 pounds overweight at the start of the season a couple of years ago, forced to trade to Philly. That boy showed up in Philly looking like he is in shape. So looks like he's heading down that same path currently, as he's trying to force his way out of Philly, if you've seen recent photos of him on social media. But anyway, yeah, just from an integrity standpoint, that's not something I could be involved with. So I wouldn't necessarily be one of the two members showing my hand and threatening to quit if it went through, because I would wait to see what the commissioner's final decision was and what kind of integrity or just testicular fortitude he would show. Like, if you're the commissioner and you think a trade is lopsided, like, your league has rules about it before the season starts. If your league doesn't have rules in place about voting on a trade and vetoing it before the trade is finalized, there's nothing you can do here. And so, while I'm pretty sure that the team on the flip side getting his players back would probably be happy, I wouldn't accept that either, because that's a lack of integrity. Yes, it's a fantasy sport. Yeah, it's all fun and games. No, it's not quote unquote real, but it is a game. It does have rules. And if you're not going to play by the rules, what's the point of playing the game? So,
Yeah. I saw that and thought, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I must share this with the people so they can shake their head as they watch this video.
Absolutely. So let's jump into a couple of our fantasy top performers of the week. Who do you want to give a shout out to in terms of their fantasy performance this week?
The Miami Dolphins. Just pick a player. Who you want? I'm gonna go with Raheem Mostert because he was on my work league team. But anybody that played for the Miami Dolphins, if you suited up for the Dolphins, you get a shout out this week. The backup quarterback probably had. I think the backup quarterback had like 15 or 20 points because he threw
at least 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he had at least 2 touchdowns. So
anytime Robbie Anderson, Chosen Anderson, whatever name he going by right now, is fantasy relevant. You know that everybody's going. I am really about to go look up and see how many Miami Dolphins scored in double-digit points. That I should have looked up beforehand, but I'm willing to say it had to be at least 8 people, because you got to have 2 quarterbacks,
2
running backs. There's 5. Did they throw the ball to the tight end? Anybody else can see?
Let's see.
I think it might be 7 or 8. Oh, the defense they gotta be fantasy relevant too. So it might just be everybody that touched the field minus the offensive lineman. And that's because they don't get points.
Let's see.
Everybody else that touched the field, you fantasy relevant, you get a shout out this week.
Man, that is so very, very real and true.
Because I'm really thinking that Mike White probably got 15, 20 points, if not more.
Yeah, the Dolphins defense in standard PPR. Well, the Dolphins defense they gave up 20 points and 363 yards total. So they only scored about 6 fantasy points in standard in PPR leagues. So still pretty good. Still pretty good for a fantasy defense. So I'm going to give my first shout out to the Justin Herbert Keenan Allen combo from the looks like we're getting a special guest coming in. But he's gonna come into this hearing me do something that is probably going to shock him. I'm giving my first fantasy shout outs of the week to Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, who I predicted last week on a different podcast I appeared on would have a big game against Minnesota, and they did. So Keenan Allen went off. Not only did he have 18 catches for 200 plus yards, the man threw for a 49-yard touchdown. So if you're in the league that gives you a bonus for 40 plus yard touchdowns, you're pretty happy with Keenan Allen. And Herbert went for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns himself with no interceptions to boot. So great performances by both of them from a fantasy standpoint. They still suck as a team, as a record label, and as a staff. But as a fantasy performance last week, I gotta give them a shout out.
I canceled a practice, and this is what I have to listen to. All good.
Yeah, brother. So we're doing fantasy performance shout outs from this past week, from week 3. Who you want to give a shout out to?
Who I want to give a shout out to?
Jared just gave his shout out to the whole Miami Dolphins offensive unit. and
You know what? I'm going to give a shout out to Madden 24 because that Dolphins Broncos game was a classic game of Madden, me playing my 10-year-old. So, put up 70 points just because I think it's funny. And scoring in the last, 2 minutes or something like that? Just because, what the hell, why not? And so my shout out goes to Madden 24 or college football, 13? We're like, we're just going to run up the score. We don't kneel. We're just going to run up the score. So and we're going to run the same play, stop us as we can. So shout out to old school college football 2013 or Madden 23, whichever is your flavor.
Indeed. And I just want to say, Mike McDaniels is a classic dude. Because, later finding out that he was everyone knows that he's a Colorado native. He was a Broncos ball boy growing up, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's been a part of his story as he's risen in the coaching ranks and as he's having some success. But finding out that he didn't even get an interview or a consideration for an interview for the Broncos when they had a head coaching opening, I know that, I pray that people are not as petty on the inside as I am from time to time, because he ain't through with me and he's still working on me. But I know that it had to be a satisfying moment for him to choose not to kick the field goal and set the new record for NFL points scored in the game. Because while that would have been a great story, I think it's a bigger story of the mercy he showed them in that moment. I don't know in the same situation if I would have had the restraint to do that, because as Dr. Deuce just pointed out, we come from a running up era in football games. So yeah, I might have sent the unit out there. You know what? Real petty, I probably would have sent the unit out there, told them to set up, then don't snap the ball and take the 5-yard penalty. Just so they know, just to let them know, I could have got you. Don't get it twisted. I could have got you. I'm choosing not to.
What I want to know, Dwayne, is Denver still riding, or what are we doing with them?
That old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be. Ain't what she used to be. She ain't what she used to be 20 years ago. Somebody shoot this horse and put it out of his misery, please, Lord. Oh man. Hey guys, I'm recording, so happy you're home. Close the door, please. So now, who were some of our fantasy disappointments for the week?
My disappointment was not paying attention when Ayuk was called out. And I must have been doing something Thursday. I must have been at practice or something, but I didn't switch him. Not that it would help me at all. But still.
Yeah, I also got caught in the Brandon Ayuk late scratch surprise of the week. Close to costing me. Well, I mean, I still lost the game by more points than the replacement than I would have had putting them in there. So, I don't feel too bad. But yeah, that kind of caught a lot of people off guard considering that, he participated in practice and was out there in pregame, and then all of a sudden, no Brandon Ayuk. So, but in terms of people who actually did get on the field this week, who do you think was a disappointment?
Josh.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Josh Jacobs. Let me say it again. Yeah. I have started him for the last 3 weeks on my work league, and that boy has done nothing. He gets a lot of touches. He has just not gotten the end zone. He just ain't really done a whole lot. So that's probably to be expected when you miss all the training camp. You got to shake the rust off. But I have a feeling that hopefully at some point he gets it together and starts producing.
If only there was a team
Question.
that everybody
Who y'all playing
can run
different?
on. If only there was a team that everybody runs on the schedule in the city that Josh Jacobs loves to play in. Oh, wait. Let's look at who we playing this week.
You know what? Don't you start with that again, okay? You know what? You're right, but I'd start him. I mean,
so I will concur. I think that turnovers killed the ability for us to run the ball on Sunday. I don't know if Jimmy G borrowed Jameis Winston's old eyes for the weekend or if he was just confused about what color jersey his team was wearing. But yeah, those turnovers were drive killers. Like the incompletions. Jimmy G had a terrible performance. So hearing that he was in the concussion protocol after the game on Sunday makes me really wonder if he even should have been playing that game any time in the second half, because like that was a terrible performance overall. So he is my fantasy disappointment for the week. Playing against the Steelers, like the Steelers secondary ain't that good. Like, let's just be honest. Yes, you got Minka Fitzpatrick back there before. The way that they were able to quote unquote contain, even though Devontae Adams still had, 150 yards receiving,
172, unfortunately,
and a touchdown, but he's not spreading the ball around. He's not using his other weapons. Like, that's not the quarterback that we're used to seeing. So very disappointing performance by Jimmy G on Sunday.
I just wanted Devontae Smith. He didn't do a whole lot. They didn't get him the ball. Yeah, 4 for 28?
So
7 yards a catch, but I mean, come on, you only have 4 catches.
So now I'm just curious. What did AJ Brown have on Sunday? If you're in the NFL stats, what was AJ Brown Sunday?
Well over 100 yards.
So I expected that. In all honesty, I actually sat Smith in a different league that I have, because after AJ's performance on the sideline last week, I had a feeling that Jalen was going to be throwing everything he could his way this week because of last year's little dust up about AJ not being involved. So he's got to figure out how to get both of them involved in the flow of the game, because honestly, it'll help their offense overall. Like, hard to criticize a team that's 3-0, one of the better teams in the league offensively and defensively. Philadelphia is a pretty complete team right now. But from a fantasy
he went 9 for 131 to answer your question.
Yeah. So, but for a fantasy standpoint, Jalen, use all them weapons, bro. we all want to see people eat over here.
I mean, the only league I won in that mattered anyway is the NFL one. I crushed whoever the hell I played.
Oh yeah, that was ass whooping. Good game.
I did them dirty. It was great.
So before we jump into the Texas League recap from week 3, the NFL injury bug, like, I know it's a common thing, but it's been hard times these
It's
first
hard for Mike Williams if that's your name. Every year you get a season-ending injury. Usually it doesn't happen until at least week 7, but damn, we decided to take the Aaron Rodgers route. Like, let's go and knock this out early and just be done.
I mean, yeah. Nick Chubb also injured that same week. I have to hear that there was, I believe that they said there was no MCL tear from that hit, which I can't believe. Like, 'cause the way that hit looked in slow motion. Oof. I rubbed my knees 3 times looking at that hit, but glad to hear that they expect him to make a full and speedy recovery. But it's just like, I know there's complaints about the turf versus the grass. Players, I don't know, man. I know that there's injuries are part of football, like just touchdowns, running the ball, injuries, like they all come with the game. But it'd be hard times when you have a star player that is injured week 1, week 2, week 3, and they're going for the season. Because now you're like, well, hell, I was only planning on having some scrub rookie wide receiver fill in for him during this bye week. Now I have to try to, especially if you're in the league 12, 14 teams deep, you digging hard to try to find RB2s, wide receiver 3s, and just pray they develop into what's his name? They develop like a Puka Nachua or something that's a diamond in the rough at this point with these injuries. So just hitting that waiver wire is going to continue to be a challenge all year long. So start looking at your players, and if you got room on your roster, I recommend start stashing somebody's backup, stash somebody's wide receiver, that wide receiver 4 that you think won't do anything. It might be worth it to sit him on your bench for a couple of weeks because he might be next man up, where he's a starting slot receiver after week 5 after having 0 catches in the first 4 weeks. So keep an eye on that waiver wire. All right. So we'll quickly recap last week's matchups. So we'll start with the matchup of the podcast host, Devastator versus Stairway to Evans. So one thing I will say is this week, if you notice, this is actually, let me just go back real quick. This was actually a pretty high scoring week for our league. Like, the lowest scoring winner was still over 113 points, and the lowest scoring loser was at 81, which is a decent score for us being a half PPR league. So, you had some people that definitely could have won some other matchups. They ended up with an L because they just happened to come upon a closer opponent. So we got a couple teams still looking for that first win. But I am no longer one of those teams looking for that first win. So, Jared, how do you feel about picking against me last week?
You know what? You just said some people would have won other matchups. If I played the other host in this league, I'm still 3-0.
Look, this ain't got nothing to do with me, bro. Take your L. And take your L like me and Wayne both said you would. And be humble.
It is what it is. My team took an L. It is what it is. Quarterback has been my downfall all season.
So you should have took your own advice.
My theory was Justin Fields and the Bears would be so trash that he's gonna have to run. He ain't ran. That's all you got to do. Just take off running, because we know you can't pass. Not to mention, I'm gonna need some people to catch the ball. He hit DJ Moore in the hands on what should have been a walk-in touchdown, and this fool.
Oh my God! I mean,
all you gotta do is catch it. He ain't gonna throw too many good passes. Just catch the ones you do.
You got it. It was almost like he was surprised that the pass was that good. It shocked him. Is this actually the ball? He was like, wait, is this the ball?
It is, like I said, this week, like, obviously, I've been playing fantasy for about 20 years. I've never been undefeated for an entire season, so I knew I was going to lose at some point. As long as I'm not 0-3, I'm all right. So I'm 2-1. Got a rebound this week. Dwayne's team performed this week. No real excuses. Your team performed this week, sir, and kudos to you and your team and getting off the winless side of the bracket, as they say.
Does feel good to get off the schneid. This right here is surprising. Jacksonville getting mollywopped by the Texans
Yeah.
at home the way they did is not something that, as after playing the Chiefs the way they played them the week before, I did not see Jacksonville getting whooped like that at home by the Texans. So I'm happy
I
about
did
that.
not either.
So yeah,
Oh, such is life.
indeed.
No, you lay me down.
To our next matchup last week, we had two moves, two balls looking for their first win against the Big Green. Now, two moves, two balls always says that whenever we pick against them, they get a win. All three of us picked against them last week, but it was not to be their destiny. The Big Green with, essentially Tua and Tyreek combo continues to put them in the lead and put them out of the reach in these games, even though, I mean, this was a good game. Like 118 points would have beat a lot of other teams this week. It was just an unfortunate one more touchdown. Basically, they lost because of this bonus touchdown by Tua to Tyreek, with them both getting the bonus on that particular touchdown. There's your separation right there. So hey, keep your head up, two moves, two balls, and hopefully you'll get the win next week. Next matchup. Deuce, what you think about this one?
Ooh, is this a Herbert to Allen connection with that tomorrow Cristoballin had? I mean, 158-92 ain't nothing to sneeze at. Let's just be real. But literally, you got what, 78 points, 78.73 if we being specific, just between Herbert and Allen. I mean, hell, that's only 20 points off of all of Nate's freaking whole squad. It's like, damn, bro. I mean, like, your two cats got at least 7 of his 9 people right there.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then Hawkinson at least had 9 points. I mean, Cincinnati's kicker at 15, because it's not like they did any damn thing else but kick the damn ball. And Buffalo's defense was 30. Okay, granted, they're playing Washington, so I need to calm down. But, I mean, that's a hell of a time to put.
9 sacks and 4 interceptions. That's ridiculous. Like, you just ran into.
They're playing Boo Boo Tech. That's all those times.
Yeah.
Boo Boo Tech.
That was like me playing Madden against my daughter, who don't even like football. And she's just pushing buttons.
Wow.
So yeah, armed Rodgery, usually one of the stronger teams in the league, currently sitting at 1-2, but still a good team. So we expect them to get better. Now we go to our high scoring matchup of the week. So that wasn't even the highest scoring of the week. Jared, talk about Memphis and his performance for his team.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, Jimmy G threw the ball to Devontae Adams and only Devontae Adams. And Memphis took advantage of that to 35 points. He seems to have the only tight end that's doing anything this year, and Sam Laporta, because ain't him and Kelsey the only tight ends that you can count on right now to do anything.
To score anything close to double digits.
Mike Evans caught the lone touchdown. Yeah. And let's not forget about Kenneth Walker, who had 2 rushing touchdowns. 97 on the ground, 59 through the air. Had a nice little game. 29 points. Team was rolling.
Not bad. So
company man, Mahomes put up right at 30 points, which is very Mahomes-esque, but no. When your second leading scorer is your defense.
Ooh, yeah.
And I was about to mention that one. But who really thought that? So a chain has really not done much this year. So
no,
but now
Vaughn
is coming out party.
Vaughn is a good kid. He's a kid from Missouri City. Went to Thurgood Marshall. Won a couple of state track championships. So his speed is evident and been well known. And he showed it. I mean, not only did he score his first NFL touchdown on Sunday, he scored his first touchdown, 2 through the air and 2 on the ground. So, but 200, like, you imagine you really get your first touches in an NFL game and you go for 200 yards, like that is some good production. But the crazy thing is, even if you had put him in, you still only lose by 30 instead of losing by 80. So yeah, that's some hard corn right there.
You know.
Now,
Yeah.
speaking of hard corn, because we're gonna say you for last, sir, just like we did last week. Speaking of hard corn, we have our friend the shirtless wonder, aka No Shirt Mook, going up against Muff Divers. Muff Divers still looking for that first win of the year. Both teams exceeded their point projection for the week. In a close game, it came down to Justin Jefferson doing what he does, and basically TK's goose egg sunk him this week in a very close game. So I mean, you got a 5-point edge. I'm sorry, not KK. Brees Hall's goose egg sunk him this week. Like, with the exception of Kincaid, like everyone scored double digits just by not counting the defense. But that right there, just getting the end zone one time, Brees, those 6 points could have got Adam to win, but alas, it was not to be. So that takes us to our last week 3 matchup involving our other podcast host.
That's because New Jersey said they ain't running the ball. That's why Hall, Dalvin Cook just said, man, we ain't got it today, man. Just tell them we ain't got it.
We can't even put nothing on it.
Nothing.
Jared, talk to us about this game.
I don't want Jared to talk to us
our
about
good
this
friend.
Look, All right, go ahead.
Come on, Mathis King. We'll give you a chance to defend yourself. No. Let's let Mathis King break his own game down. That's fine.
Well, it's kind of like you said earlier. Who would have thought that Sunshine would get just toasted by Houston? I mean, I didn't see that coming. Devontae didn't get the ball. I said that earlier. Williams was doing good until he got hurt. Henry, again, they're like, oh, we playing Cleveland. We don't need to run. We only need to kick 1 field goal. We good. We got this. Apparently they on that what's his name? Russell Wilson, let's ride bullshit. But Dalvin Cook, again, him and Hall didn't get nothing. Fairmouth was my damn 3rd highest score. It's like, man, here I am acting like I'm Chris. I'm like, all right, Pittsburgh, come on and give me some points. I mean, I'm relying on freaking Fairmouth to give me some damn points to get me a win. And then, like I already said with Ayuk, that was a mental mistake on my part. Tucker get me 6 points was cool. Kansas City defense get me 13 was all right. I mean, so I was evenly matched, sort of, and I lost by like 30. But,
so the solace in that is, even had you played Thielen instead of Ayuk, it would have only been a closer loss. So while it would be a moral victory, it's almost like damned if I do, damned if I don't. But at least you're not winless. That's the only thing, So
exactly. I'm not in 12th place like I was this time last year.
This is very true. So, good matchups last week. We had a couple of close ones. So, as we go into week 4, let's take a look at our matchups. So,
before we go into the matchups, let's go ahead and highlight the fact
that thank you.
Those bootleg ass Raiders play my awesome Chargers this weekend.
So
let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
You're jumping out of order, but let's talk. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's get into it, my friend. Speak on it. What you got to? Oh well, let's also show this real quick. Let's show this real quick. The update on where we stand in terms.
Oh yeah.
So,
congratulations on winning the week, there, Debo. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. So, thanks to Jared picking against me and Deuce picking also against himself, or picking for himself, I should say, that has allowed the two of us to now have a season tie at 50%, with Jared still behind us at 44. So, we'll see where we stand after this. So, now, my brother, let's talk about the Los Angeles Sparklers and the Raiders matchup coming up this weekend in our second home in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium.
I'll give you that. That's legit. Pretty much anybody who comes to I'm gonna say Qualcomm. That's the last time I was happy where we was. Okay. Anyway, anybody who comes to our home stadium makes us feel like an away team. I get it. Even when we was playing in that little soccer stadium a few years back until the stadium was done, we still was outnumbered every single damn game. I get it. But every year, I have to admit, every time we play your freaking team, it's a close, good game. You can't say it's not. It's always a close, good game. Now, yes, we a little suspect on our run defense. Little's an understatement, but we are a little suspect on our run defense. But we seem to come out when we need to. Week 4 is when we need to. Because y'all fools ain't winning.
Oh, that's so cute.
Now,
You
granted,
think that.
we ain't got Williams for the deep route, but we got who's that damn
Palmer. You got
we got Palmer. Yeah, y'all gonna try and double team. Obviously, y'all gonna try and get Keenan Allen in the slant. He gonna do what he do.
We're going to apply a cornerback to follow Keenan Allen once he gets out of his car at the stadium and follow him everywhere he goes, to his locker room, to the Gatorade stand, to the concession stand, to the bathroom. Keenan Allen is going to be doubled every step he takes, as the police would say. Every breath he takes, every move he makes, he will have players watching him on Sunday. So if you're going to beat us Sunday, let it not be by Keenan Allen. And that's a hard ask to make with the talent that Keenan Allen has, and he's got a great quarterback. So as much smack as I talk about the Chargers, because that is what you do when you're in a rivalry, I will not take anything away from the talent they have on the offensive side of the ball. So the challenge for us is going to be on getting our offense going. So Jimmy G being in the concussion protocol, which was announced on Monday, we're not sure if he's going to be cleared to play this game Sunday afternoon. So we'll see if they're going to go with Hoyer, who's the current number 2, or the extremely talented former substitute teacher, Adrian O'Connell, that is the 3rd-string quarterback. That's our rookie that currently rocks the number 4 of our previous quarterback, who looked very good in the preseason games. Me personally, if Jimmy G can't go, I say let the rookie go out there and cook. It's nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose at this point in the season.
I agree with you.
Let
him go out there and know what that turf tastes like. I agree 100% with you. Let Khalil Mack and come out there and just be like, welcome to the NFL, my young son.
Khalil Mack has zero impact on any football game.
But he will this weekend. Don't start with me. Yes, he will this weekend.
I love Khalil Mack, but he doesn't get fired up like that anymore. Like there's no contention between us. Like there was no bad negative breakup between us. There's still love. And the fact of the matter is, your MAGA loving other defensive end, if he can keep his emotions in check, our penalties all over the field for throwing for tantrums. You know what I'm saying? If he could just put the Mein Kampf book down for just a few moments and go out there and play some football, maybe we'll have a good day. I'm just saying, man.
I understand.
Where were the boasts on January 6th? That's all I'm asking.
Well, I mean, I think I saw them in one of the videos. If you're playing, I mean, I'm just saying.
You know what I'm saying? The Chargers were in the playoffs on January 6th, so where was
he? Had some free time on his hands. We know where he was at. Let's not play. We know. But anyway, he smashed in one of them windows, didn't he? No, let me stop.
Anyway, so it's obvious which one of us who's gonna pick between our two teams. So Jared, we'll just let you make the tiebreaker pick between our matchup on Saturday, on this weekend, week 4.
You better pick right.
You said I better pick right?
Yeah.
Oh, so many options. No.
Now I'm looking at Cleveland personally, going back to Minnesota or playing against Minnesota, his old team. I did say Carolina. He gonna show out. They're gonna try and get him. They're gonna have one of them games like where only Devontae got the ball. Damn it, only Thielen getting the ball in this game.
Bryce, you sure about that? Because Bryce Young is playing again Sunday. Is slated to play again Sunday.
Oh no! See, I can't even do it.
I have faith. I don't, but I have pretend faith, just like the Jets coach does on freaking that quarterback. I got that same pretend faith that he will be there and throw the rock real well.
Go ahead, Jared.
Wow. You know, I'm looking at this, and I see some matchups I don't like. I don't like Derrick Henry as much as I used to because he's been getting outsnapped by Tajay Spears lately. I don't like Dalvin Cook because Zach Wilson sucks. And people seem to be loading up the box, daring him to throw it, and you know he's not good at that. You know, but on the other side of the field, I see Tony Pollard versus the Patriots, and everybody knows that the hoodie he gonna pick what you do well and try to make you not do that. I think he gonna try to force them. He gonna try to force Dak to throw the ball and make some mistakes, and try to keep Pollard from running. But I think the deciding thing, and this is gonna be crazy, is Cortland Sutton versus Chicago. Chicago sucks as a team. I think they bounce back because after you get beat by 50, you're going to thrash the next person you play. And they just so happen to get Chicago. And I think that might be the one that's going to get them over the hump. I believe Jordan Love has a good game against Detroit because Detroit just has pseudo shootouts every week. Even in a Thursday night game, I think that game might be a little higher scoring because it's Detroit and their defense is bend, break. It's supposed to be bend, don't break. No, it's just bend and break. They give up a lot of points. They really do. And they just have pseudo shootouts. You got Davis versus Miami in a division game. I think it's going to be some points scored there. I'm leaning towards Dwayne in this one. I really am.
I thought we was boys, man. We go back like Cracker Jacks, man. What the fuck? We had the same roommate.
That's fair. I mean, I expect it to be a close game. So, you know, we'll see. All right. So, Dukes, I'll let you return the favor and pick Stairway to Evans versus Big Green game first.
All right. Well, I see that he got smart, even though it's Houston. He got a different quarterback up there. So, you know, he listened to himself after he took that L from you last week and didn't start Chicago's bootleg-ass quarterback. So, I get it. Okay. Now, just looking at it from the outside in, just looking at it on paper, depends on which Miami comes out. If the Miami that put up 70 points on Denver comes out against Buffalo, because Buffalo looked shaky, what was it, week one? It's like, this ain't the Buffalo we used to seeing. This ain't the Josh Allen we used to seeing. Now, if it's Josh Allen that comes out and the defense actually stops somebody, that Miami-Buffalo game is going to be a lot closer. Then that could actually benefit Big Green because, you know, it's going to be a shootout too. It's going to be giving that ball to Tariq Hill all the damn time. This game looks on paper close, but I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I like some of who he has starting, but yeah, Big Green. I'm done. Big Green.
Yeah, and I'm going to say the same thing. I definitely like the matchups for Stairway to Evans this week. Like, he's got some good matchups, like he just said. Detroit, Green Bay Thursday night, I think it's going to be a higher scoring affair than our usual Thursday night games are, with that being a rivalry game between those two teams. And again, that division is still wide open, with the Vikings looking like absolute baby diaper content so far this season. It's anybody's division to win. And this is a game for one of these two teams to show that they can take over the position of leading that division for the rest of this season. But I just think that the Tua Tyreek combo is a stronger combination to go with this week in, week out. Like, I think that stack is going to continue to benefit Big Green. So I'm also going to go with Big Green this week. And so now, just as it's a formality, but I'll ask, Jared, are you picking yourself or Big Green this week?
I'm picking myself.
Okay.
Because there is a running joke between the two of us. Whichever one of us is doing better, the other one comes in and beats them. That's just normally how it goes between us. Plus, the Big Green's fantasy advisor, will be admission this weekend for a surgery. So
Okay, fair enough. We'll move on to our next matchup. Next matchup is a battle of undefeated versus unwinning so far this season. So, Two Bulls, Two Balls versus Kirkwood. Two Bulls, Two Balls has had some good games this season so far, have just run into teams that happen to produce a little bit better than their counterpart so far this season. So this weekend going up against Kirkwood, as I'm looking at these matchups, I think Christian McCaffrey's 21 points is a little bit high of a projection based on the fact that Arizona is actually playing better than teams giving them credit for. I mean, look at what they did to the Cowboys. You know, that defense is inspired right now, and they would like to show that game against the Cowboys was not a fluke, that they can come out and impart their will on the better teams in the NFC. So I see Arizona at home wanting to defend their home turf once again. Nico Collins, you know, you knew eventually Stroud was going to start finding a way to get his receivers the ball. Like, he's a good quarterback. So if he settles down, he's found a good target in Collins versus a Pittsburgh team that can be thrown on, as it's been obvious the first 3 weeks of the year. Jalen Hurts has continued to do what Jalen Hurts does. But I still think that I like the Two Bulls, Two Balls, One Goal to get their first win this week. Josh Allen and the Bills are going to have a shootout against Miami, which means he's going to have to put the ball in the air as well as use his feet to score. And I think that he's going to be the difference maker this week. After last week's performance, Jacksonville is going to be looking, like you said, when you take a loss like that, like of 20 points to Houston at home, the way they did, they're going to be looking to have a bounce back game, and Christian Kirk is Sunshine's #1 target. So I see them having a bounce back game this weekend, them giving Two Bulls, Two Balls, One Goal the edge. What do you think, guys?
I don't know. With the injury bug being what it's been lately, I've been thinking this week, who's the next quarterback to go out? So here's what I'm thinking. Okay, Miami just drug freaking Denver through the mud. So, Denver should be traded out for like a Canadian football team. Just do a one like swap for swap. I'm cool.
Whoever won the Grey Cup last year gets to replace Denver.
There you go. And I think that's fair. I think that's 100% fair. So what I'm curious about, Miami's going to come out with that same vigor, I think. And I think their defense is going to get to Josh Allen more than people think. I don't know if he's going to get hurt, but he's going to come out hobbled. He ain't going to come out 100% or even 80%. And because of that, and I think McCaffrey's going to run through Arizona, even though Arizona had a good game against Dallas. I live in Arizona. All these damn fans they're as annoying as freaking Cowboy fans. They're like, oh my God, we doing so. We beat the Cowboys. I'm like, really? That's what y'all harping at? I'm like, yeah, y'all had a good game. I'm proud of you. But at the end of the day, it was the freaking Cowboys. Right. So they're all into themselves. They're like, oh, we can beat anybody. And McCaffrey's going to be like, let me show you what a running back can do. Right. So, unfortunately, I think I think Kirkwood's crazy self is going to remain undefeated and take this win. And it's going to be close, though. I think like the projection is 111 to 109. I think it's going to be like 120 to 118. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Jared, who do you have in this game? Well, it'd be great if it's coffee with mute, my brother. That's a dollar in the mute jar for you, Jared.
Next time I'll just let Jefferson talk since he ran anything. Anyway, I'm going with Two Boobs, Two Balls to finally get off the snide because Christian Kirk and the Jaguars, despite getting spanked last week, are playing in their favorite place, London. They somehow tend to always produce in London. I think if I'm not mistaken, I might need to Google it. They somehow I thought they were undefeated in Europe.
believe
can win there.
I believe that's correct because they definitely won
I've
last
heard they're
year's
like they
European
played the
game.
most games out of anybody, and they always seem to win. They always seem to win in some well-played games. You got Harrison Butker down here playing the Jets. I see it being similar to this past week. A lot of points being scored, a lot of field goals getting kicked as they try not to really just run the score up.
I see Butker kicking at least 5 field goals because
He just don't.
I think at some point they're going to take Mahomes out of the game, and whoever their backup QB is will be good enough to get him down in the field goal range, and then he'll just kick a bunch of field goals in the fourth quarter, the game away. But all right, so next matchup.
Just for the record, the Jaguars did lose in London. They lost to the Eagles in 2018.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So now let's go to our other undefeated team. Jared, these your homeboys. Armed Rodgery, usually doing a little bit better at this point early in the season. Muff Divers, who is the darling of the fantasy draft reviews, both AI and human, gave him the #1 spot for fantasy drafting this year. It has not translated into wins yet for him. Who do you think wins this matchup?
So I'm going with Nate to win this one. Tennessee has a good run defense. So I think that's going to make Burrow have to pass the ball more, which in turn is going to affect Mixon. But, Carolina is not great. I think Madison can put up a decent performance. Kelsey and the Jets defense is actually pretty good, but Kelsey and Mahomes just going to score what they're going to score. Just like I said earlier, you got Jerry Jeudy versus the Bears. Just like Cortland Sutton, they're going to get some points.
Yep.
I don't see a lot out of Lamar Jackson has been real hit or miss this year. Chris Olave would be good in my opinion. But they got Jameis Winston starting. Jameis gonna throw a couple YOLO balls out there, which I'm thinking the Bucs are gonna pick off. Even with his improved LASIK eyesight, he's still gonna throw something up there.
Yeah, man, that was a tough loss for them. So to have control of that game through 3 quarters for them to lose the way they did on Sunday. I mean, again, as a Packers, as a Wisconsin native and always a forever Packer backer, it was good to see Green Bay get the W at home. And I'm not going to lie, I thought that the coach was gambling unnecessarily when he went for 2 after they finally got in the end zone. But it came back and, that was one of those moments where I think you have to say, screw the analytics and just go with your guts. Something that,
No, analytics are key. I'm just playing. Go ahead.
I'm not saying analytics are good, but I do think that you can get caught up in the ridiculousness of the analytics when at the heart of it, football is a simple game. And there are times when you can still trust your gut and that you have to just throw the dice on the table and see what happens if you're trying to win instead of not lose. So it ended up working out in their favor with the successful 2-point conversion. And when they scored, they put themselves in the lead. So, all right. So who do you like for this game? Deuce, Armed Rodgery, or Muff Divers?
I mean, I want to say Lamar Jackson is going to do good against Cleveland, but I don't know. It's like Calvin said, he's been hit or miss. I mean, he's been getting some points. Don't get me wrong. Like he went 7, 25, 26, I see. But
I'm encouraged to see this. Like as
101 yards.
I'm encouraged to see that, in a game that was closer than it should have been, where they ended up losing in overtime thanks to a just head-scratching swallow of the whistle towards the end of the game. Even though they lost in overtime, I was happy to see that he was not afraid to do what he had to do to put his team in position to win, because it felt like, especially the first 2 games of the season, he was forcing himself to stay in the pocket, but they had so many injured players this past Sunday on both sides of the ball. He knew he was going to have to be the Lamar Jackson that won the MVP, instead of trying to force himself into a pocket passing role. So,
and he's only 40 yards off of his normal average for the first 3 games in the last 4 years rushing. So he's only 40 yards, but it's that 40 yards that I worry about.
Right.
This is why analytics is good. You can, but and then Joe Burrow, I'm not sold on him this year right now. I mean, he's not doing terrible. He ain't doing great neither. I expect Joe Burrow to be solid 300 yards a game. Solid. Not, he got 259 last week, 222, and we ain't gonna talk about week 1. But, it's like, ugh.
It's not the Joe Burrow. It's not the Joe Burrow that we've seen the last 2 seasons. When
at least he didn't get hurt in the first game like he did in his first year, but against the Chargers, just throwing it out there. But Justin Jefferson against Carolina, I see a lot of good upside to that if family members can get him the damn ball. But I'm going to say Adams is going to get his first win.
All right. I'm going to go with armed Rodgery.
I feel like y'all just pick against me just for fun, but it's cool.
No. So this was not about you. I think Tyler Lockett's going to have a good day versus the Giants on Monday Night Football. I think that's a winnable matchup. I think that's my difference maker right there, is that Monday Night Football matchup where Lockett's able to sort of feast on that Giants secondary to push Nate over the top. All right. Next matchup, Company Man versus Hangin with Hernandez. So, both of them looking pretty good this year. Not to make it a long soliloquy. I like Hangin with Hernandez this week. Rivalry game, Giants defense, everybody can score on them. Laporta putting up points. Mike Evans in a divisional game is going to now. I know Jared is going to point out that that the Saints are the team that Mike Evans traditionally struggles against.
He kicked out for fighting. Yeah.
Kicked out for fighting. He lost me a game last year. Literally, I didn't listen to Jared last year, didn't bitch Mike Evans in the game against the Saints, and it cost me a fantasy matchup, which ultimately cost me a chance at making it to the playoffs in our league last year. I was out of the playoffs by 1 game last year, and that was the cost. Mike Evans breaks the Saints' curse this week, and so I'm going to go with Hangin with Hernandez for this game. What about you guys?
I'm going to have to agree. I agree that Mike Evans gets, every once in a while, he actually puts up a good performance. I think this is the week because I think Baker Mayfield was told when he came in that we got to get Mike to 1,000 yards. So he's been feeding him the ball. And I think this might be the week that he don't get in a fight and don't get kicked out the game and actually has a decent performance. Like you said, I'm going to go with Devontae Adams because Jimmy G or whoever plays quarterback is just going to feed him the ball because it's just what they've been doing. He got that big contract. They're going to keep feeding him before he demand a trade.
Right.
Like you said, Kenneth Walker against the subpar Giants defense. I think that the Texans are going to run the ball in an effort to slow down the Pittsburgh pass rush. So Pierce might actually put some up. Like I said, Laporta been producing. This man scored 165 points last week. Obviously, I don't think he repeats that this week, but I do think his team puts together another good performance. And I think he gets another win.
Excellent.
Okay.
What about you, Deuce?
I think we're going to, for the first time, I think we're all going to be in agreement. But I really want to see what Mr. Relevant does to the Arizona Cardinals defense. I am looking forward to seeing what he can do and what he does just to shut these people at work's mouths. I can't freaking wait. And as much as I hate to freaking admit that one team, they're going to run the hell out of all through my team. I get it. I mean, everybody runs through us. Hell, a high school team could probably run through us. It is what it is. We make peace with it. We just got to keep up because I ain't putting that stupid emblem on my crap this week. But because of Purdy and Adams alone, yeah, I think hands down. I don't think Mahomes can put up enough points. Well, they're playing New Jersey. But it's not like Kamara's doing anything. He's not Kamara of old. So, I mean, and Tom, yeah, hang with Hernandez.
Right. So we have our only consensus so far of this week's picks. In our last game of the week, sitting 2-2-1 teams, Acorn versus Super Mario Cristoballin. Deuce, who you like in this matchup?
Super Mario Cristoballin, because he got Herbert and Allen. Enough said.
That is fair enough. Jared, who you like?
I'm gonna have to agree with that, man. The way they scoring points, you run with them until they prove otherwise. That combo is deadly. They keep scoring, you go with them.
We have two consensuses this week versus the 4 we had last week. Yeah, that stack is going to continue to produce points, especially with Mike Williams being out now, Keenan out. So you have a veteran in Josh Palmer that has the potential to produce, and then I think they have a rookie who's been their 4th receiver consistently that they're looking to step up to try to see if he can take some of that over-the-top action that Mike Williams does. Pause. But this week, I still like Super Mario over Ed Court. All right. So the picks are in. We'll see how we do. We have some Discord this week, so we'll see if we can move to who moves into first place amongst us 3. Picks this week should be very interesting. So
hey, before you finish, Dwayne, I want to put a challenge bet right here on this podcast between you and I, my good brother.
Yeah, here we go. Go for
Chargers win. You do the next podcast with the Chargers emblem behind you.
Then no Twitter logo then.
Then no Twitter logo.
No Twitter logo.
That. No Twitter logo. But for the entire, and it has to be recorded. I don't care if anything happens to Cowan's internet. We recording this joint and it's getting posted. And the same for me. If that nasty ass team wins, I will have that logo behind me.
It is an accepted bet, my friend. But we're betting on the live game.
Yes.
If you want to go double or nothing with our fantasy matchup.
You know what? Yes, I'm with that. So fantasy matchup will be for the Twitter. No. The live game will be for this.
Okay, fair enough.
Like you think?
Fantasy matchup is the Twitter /X logo for the week.
Yeah.
And the real live game is the background logo for the recording next week.
Yes, sir.
Don't worry. I'll send you a nice background, a nice virtual background for your logo next week.
I'll send you one too. Don't worry. I'll make sure you take care of Debo. I got you.
And I know you already have the logo saved from last year's game for Twitter, so I'm not gonna have to send it to you.
You know what? You're the reason why we can't have nice things, brother. I'm just throwing it out there.
All right, my brothers. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Hope you enjoy what's got the picks due. May the odds be ever in your favor, and I wish you luck this week unless you're facing me in fantasy or unless your team is facing mine. So, Deuce, you get a double X on your luck for this week, my brother.
Respect that. I respect it.
All right, y'all. Everybody have a good weekend. Shout out to our 4th co-host making a special appearance.
Jefferson.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.